Hey folks, it's your old pal keeping it country. I was going to type this out, but it would have been too long, so it would have been it's just as easy for me to go through here and do a video and get the same point across in half the time. Had a very interesting question posed to me today. Someone asked me, said, "You seem to be very intelligent. Why are you not successful?" And my reply back to them is, well, what is your definition of being successful? Because for me, I am successful. I had a career that I was in before I retired from, and now I do this as a project and as trying to help other people out and lifting and helping my neighbor. So then they progress to say, well, okay, I get that. Why don't you have sponsors and make a big, huge impact? And my reply was, well, one time I pursued that avenue of getting sponsors and enlarging my presence online. As it stands, there's me, myself, and I. I do all the editing, I do all the filming, I do all the commentary, I do anything to do with keeping it country. So there's only me. And the reason for that I had backed up and didn't get sponsors and stuff like that was for the fact that any of you all know me, know that I have my own values and morals and opinions on certain things, whether it be political, music-wise, or anything else. And I voice my views and my opinions, and that's all they are. Those are strictly mine. They don't reflect anybody that I'm associated with. Unfortunately, with that being said, sometimes people are guilty by association, and I'll address that here in a little bit. But the biggest reason why I don't do sponsorships and stuff are when you take on something like that, you're taking on money from a corporation, from a Pepsi, or from a Sony, or from a Kodak, or from a Jack Daniel's distillery, or somebody like that. You have a binding contract between you and them, a business contract. And that automatically subjects you and makes you an acting agent of their company at all times, even though you're your own identity. Because they're choosing to advertise and put their logos and stuff on there, they are in direct conjunction with your company, so they can be held accountable for any of your actions. So that makes you an acting agent of their company. Obviously, because if you get somebody like Jack Daniel's or Pepsi or Coke or any big conglomerate sponsorship, they have buku dollars and they're going to have the controlling say-so, period. So with that being said, along with that also comes a standard of conduct as to what you can and can't say, and a business clause in there, along with sometimes it's an NDA, which is a non-disclosure agreement, and then some of them are a no-compete clause. And those are all legal and binding. And so I would open myself up to legal litigation that I wouldn't want to open myself up to otherwise. So that's why I don't do sponsorships, and that's why I don't choose to become huge. Number two is I'm just a little guy, so I like fighting for the little guy. The people who don't have the resources to get their voice out there and heard, or they're having a hard time one way or the other. Um, and there's things that they would like to say but can't say, because whether you want to admit it or whether you want to like it or not, if you've been into the music industry or business for a hot minute, there is a dark side to both of those, a very dark side, and not so nice on some parts. Other parts are, where they're not giving equal airplay for women, or some other issues that I'm not going to go into all that, but I'm going into why I do what I do and how I do it, because that's how I choose to do it. Because I choose to stay independent. I choose to keep it where I can voice my opinion, which is strictly my opinion and only my opinion, at any given time on any given subject, without repercussion or legal ramifications. With that being said, as long as it's not slanderous, I can't go out there and slander a BMI or a Sony record label, or RCA or Capitol Records or BMI or any of them. And to some extent, I still have to play within a certain parameter, but I am allowed to speak my voice and drop the occasional F-bomb when it's warranted. Whereas if I was tied into a corporation, or I was into a bigger scheme and my social media presence was bigger, I would have to conform it around there to fit, so that the artists that I were entertaining to and catering to couldn't be held liable for any of my actions, or be noted as guilt by association. And it does happen. I mean, I have a couple of artist friends out there now. I have been with them since day one, and it was a big presence, and getting their name out there and doing certain stuff, and showing up at their events. And now that they're in Nashville and doing their things, that they're either with a record label or they have a sponsor. And I'm sure they've seen some of the stuff when I put it out, and kind of like, they have to distance themselves from me, and that's fine. I'm happy that they're doing what they're doing and they're succeeding at what they're doing. And speaking of succeeding, success is a perception. You have to define what you think is successful for you. Are you making money? Are you doing what you love to do? And are you doing it on your own terms? That's how I define it. And that's what I'm now doing. With the other job that I was very passionate about, I was in the corporate atmosphere. I started out as a kid picking up cigarette butts and ended up running several multi-million-dollar business corporations. One commercial real estate, some in the hotel industries, being the head of their engineering departments and maintenance departments, being the department head. So I understand when you have a structured environment, and even in the corporate atmosphere, I had a tendency to butt heads, because I am not a yes man. I never have been, I never will be. My morals and values that I was taught was, you stand up for what you believe is right and what you believe is wrong. That doesn't always make you right, and it doesn't always make the other people wrong. Everybody's entitled to their views and opinions. So That's a little bit of why I do what I do. And I'm not going to tag the person in here, but I'm sure they'll watch this and they'll probably laugh a little bit. And I hope you agree. I am. If not, I mean, that's entirely your prerogative. I just wanted to let you guys know kind of why I do what I do, because I feel I'm at freedom to say some things that you guys sometimes are not allowed to say, because you're either garnering a career that you want to become part of a record label, or you're a songwriter and want to become a songwriter. And I understand the safe distancing thing, but my DMs are always open, and I'm a very private person. What we say amongst one another, it stays amongst one another, and that's just the way it has to be. And that's in any industry or business. And so, I mean, if you can't be trustworthy and be told something and be able to have it kept in confidence, then you need to find someone else. So, I mean, that is what it is. So there you go, folks. That's it in a nutshell. I do what I do, so I have the freedom to say what I want to say, how I want to say it. And I usually do choose my words very specific, because, I mean, we have people out there who want to use half-truths, pick and choose what parts of history they want to use that serves their needs. Because fortunately, I went to school in an era when they taught history in high school and junior high and elementary. And we learned about history. So we know what history is. And there is a slew of internet things out there that you can go check on any history data that you want to. I mean, everything is not, blue and gray. Everything is not black and white. There are some gray areas in there. I mean, there's heads of other states, I mean, that do unthinkable, despicable acts. Not saying that our own doesn't probably spout his mouth off when he shouldn't, but I'm just saying, that's a matter of personal opinion. He's still the president of the United States, and the way I was raised was, it doesn't matter, you back your president, irregardless, just because he wasn't your candidate. Of course, neither one of them were back when he was elected. I wrote my own name in. Probably will do it again this time, because I don't want Biden, but then, I mean, I think Trump just got too much baggage, and unless he can quit the schoolboy antics with the twittering and infuriating people, then I'm not going to do that. I'll just write my name in there and as a candidate for president. Anyhow, back to the original reason for this was just to give you all some insight and the answer. I thought it was first time I'd ever been asked that question. Why somebody hasn't asked me before, I don't know. Because everything I do pay for out of my own pocket. I don't depend on a sponsor. I don't depend on a corporation. I don't have to ask permission. Other than, obviously if I'm using an artist's likeness or something like that, and that's common courtesy before you post their likeness or whatever. Versus other than that, if I'm posting, which you see that, I'll post a lot of stuff from other articles from, Country Music News, the BBC, pretty much anything country music news related. So, and those articles have been already pre-done, and I always leave the name in them if they're there at the bottoms, so people know that this ain't me writing this article. This was somebody else's, but it's valuable information that, with everything going on in our busy world, that sometimes we'll skim over and we'll miss that Caspi Pope just come out with a new album, or that Jimmy Allen is coming out with a new album on July 10th. Stuff like that. So I'll continue to do what I continue to do. I may be on a little hiatus for a couple of months because I'm going to go see my grandchildren at some point in time in the near future, as soon as I sell my house here in Orlando. And I will keep you all apprised of that and when that's going to happen. And until then, you know what I always end up saying? It's always the same old, but I think it's so true. Remember to be kind to one another. Remember to love one another. Until we see each other again, peace out.